Would you ever swap your Harley Davidson belt for a chain? Let's talk about it inside.
RevelatorAlf.
Hello, welcome to RevelatorAlf. Hope you enjoy the channel and the series of videos. Please like, share, subscribe, leave loads of comments below. Check out the website RevelatorAlf.com and also the links in the description below. So in this video, I'm talking about changing your belt on your Harley Davidson, whether it's Softail, whether it's Sport Glide, whether you're on a Tourer, whatever it is. And let's say you want to go for a different type of transmission and maybe even want to go for a chain instead of the belt. Why would you do that? Now, this is a very question that I asked myself a few years ago when I was actually looking for a street bob, and I was considering actually buying a street bob and just going for a chain conversion straight away. My reasoning was that one of ignorance, but also of application. First of all, I wasn't really familiar with belt-driven motorcycles. My whole history of 40 years has been mostly on chains, and then more recently on shaft-driven bikes as well. I'd never actually driven or ridden a bike, I should say, that had a belt. But I knew they were strong, I knew they could last for a long time, but I also knew that if they went, then it would be an expensive proposition to get them changed and repaired, or certainly get a new one put on. So I had some reservations about them. I wasn't too sure how long-lasting they'd be, how durable they'd be for my kind of riding, but also I knew that they'd be really expensive to change afterwards. And I wasn't too sure whether the belts would actually stretch over time beyond the limit, and what that time would be. Would it be over a certain amount of years, or would it be over a certain amount of months? So there are lots of things going through my mind at the time. So in the end, I actually spoke to a local guy here, and I actually said, look, I'm thinking about buying a street bob. This is on the Dyno platform, by the way. I'm thinking about buying a street bob. I'd like to come to you and maybe discuss about doing a chain conversion. And, you know, he was very, let me put it this way, he was very nice with me. He was very sympathetic, and he explained to me, actually, there's no need to do that whatsoever. You know, the belts are fully capable, and they're just as good as a chain, really. Now, the only difference where a chain would be much better than a belt is if you're going to do any kind of off-road riding, and this is where I would actually start to veer toward a chain if you're actually going to start doing a lot of farm track riding, that kind of thing, as I tend to do from time to time, or I was at the time. The problem with belts is that obviously they're subject to damage from debris if pebbles get in there as well, especially if you've taken off the lower belt guard as well. That protects any debris getting onto the belt. So a chain is always going to be better in that regard. Yes, they're going to be just as strong. Probably a chain is going to be stronger for overall use, but for off-road application, it's going to be better than a belt. It's going to be harder wearing, and it's going to be more resistant from damage. So why didn't I change it? Well, I considered the possibilities, and I considered whether what most of my riding would be, and I decided actually if I was going to go for a street bob, would be perfectly suffice for what I was going to do, even for light trail riding or light track riding to different destinations. It should be absolutely fine. But I also knew that if I was going to do any extensive riding, then I actually wouldn't go for a Harley, and I wouldn't go for a belt-driven bike anyway. I would definitely go for a chain bike or a shaft-driven bike. And that's effectively what I did. I had an adventure bike for a while, and I rode that with a shaft drive, and it was absolutely fine for the kind of riding that I was doing. Would I consider changing a belt now for a chain drive? Well, absolutely not. As I say, the bounce is absolutely fine, but would I still use the Softail, the Sport Glide in my case, to go off-road riding? Well, as I say, as long as the lower bout guard is on, and I have taken it off-road, there's no dramas at all. But I say, you've got to be mindful, you've got to slow down a little bit. And obviously you can't get into any serious stuff with the bike, any technical off-road riding, but you know, the bout would be protected to a certain degree, and you're never really going to need that chain to that extent. If you are, and if I am going to do a lot more off-road riding, then I would definitely go back to a chain bike. But I suppose this opens up the question to other modifications that you might be doing or might be thinking about doing on your bike. Do you really need to do it? And if you did do it, whatever modification it was, would you be worse off than what you originally had? Whether you're going from a bout to a chain. Now, you may just want to do it because you just like the looks of chains rather than bouts. You just might be that way inclined. It could be a suspension setup, it could be engine performance, it could be handlebars, foot peg positions, whatever it is. Are you going to do a modification, and is it going to be worse for you or after? Well, I suppose the proof is in the pudding, as we would say over here. You're not really going to know until you actually make the modification, and then you can actually weigh it up, what it was like before and what it was like afterwards. And I suppose this is what I would say to anybody out there. If you are going to make any kind of modification, especially a substantial modification to the engine, the drivetrain, that kind of thing, then before you do it, before you jump in with both feet, try and get some independent advice from somebody. In fact, try and get multiple opinions and gauge it from there. Try and get somebody with extra experience and see what their thoughts are. Because it might just be a case that what you originally thought was a good idea may not be a good idea at all. Anyway, but this is over to you. How many modifications have you thought about doing then? On second thoughts, you thought, no, I won't do that. How many have you gone through with and you really wish you hadn't? But anyway, over to you. Let me know what you think. Let me know in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, leave those comments. Check out the website, RevelatorAlf.com. And we'll catch you on the next video, whenever that is. Very, very soon. Ta-da now.
RevelatorAlf.